So, I was playing a strawberry shortcake game the other day, as an adult woman does, and I was thinking about how Strawberry and all of her friends are named after desserts. Then, deep from the recesses of my brain emerged a memory of another food-themed doll line, the Soda Pop Girls. Hi, I'm Sasha, and I like to take deep dives into childhood media in order to escape the horrors of adulthood. Today, I'm taking a sweet trip down memory lane with the Yummi-Land dolls. Originally released in 2006 by MGA Entertainment, the Yummi-Land dolls first launched with the Soda Pop Girls line. The appeal of these dolls was that they each had a unique scent, with each character's last name indicating what that scent was. I remember my sister and I had Amanda Appletina and Susie Strawbella, which of course smelled like apple and strawberry. Come to think of it, the Soda Pop Girls were all fruit-themed, not soda-scented. The dolls came in this cute soda bottle packaging alongside an adorable pet that also had its own scent. They also had these cute purses that doubled as scented lip glosses. I remember the scent on the dolls lasted for a surprisingly long amount of time, so I assume they added the fragrance to the plastic during the actual molding process rather than just adding it to the hair and clothes like I originally assumed. The dolls didn't come with different outfits or fashion sets, so the scents and cute aesthetics were pretty much their entire appeal. Because of this, there were never any repeat releases of the same character. Each new doll line featured new characters with new pets and new scents, all centered around a theme such as smoothies, flowers, and snow cones. They'd all continue to use the soda pop bottle packaging though, despite not all being themed around drinks. The peak of the Yummi-Land dolls seemed to be in fall 2007, with the release of the first and only movie in the franchise, Betsy Bubblegum's Journey Through Yummi-Land, which I of course watched for research purposes. The movie's cute, though ultimately kind of plotless. Like, I'm well aware that any movie made about a toy franchise is done for the sole purpose of selling more toys, but it was a little too obvious in this one. The whole movie is basically Betsy meeting the Candy Pop Girls, the Flower Pop Girls, and the Ice Cream Pop Girls, along with all their pets, and then briefly helping them solve problems by utilizing her strong sense of smell. It's not really clear why Betsy was visiting Yummi-Land in the first place, why she didn't know her uncle was the mayor, or why he's honestly a jerk to her. Like, if it was the stress of the big event that the movie centers around, then why did he give her the okay to come visit? I didn't have super high expectations since this was a one-off movie for a fairly niche doll line, but then again, this was made by the same people that produced the Bratz movies, which all had clear plots and character development. Gotta say, I was not prepared for the animals to be anthropomorphic, though. Like, they're walking around on two legs and working actual jobs, but they can't talk. But at the same time, Betsy adopts a puppy, and it acts like a normal dog. So do they raise the pets to adulthood until they're able to take care of themselves? Do the pets still live with them even though they have their own jobs and even marriages? As an adult, I have many questions concerning the rights of these animals. Like, do they have their own union? Are they being paid for their work, or do their owners just have them do all of this work for free? Potential labor violations aside, I was impressed by their ability to fit over 20 characters and 3 original songs in the span of a 40-minute movie. After the release of the Ice Cream Pop Girls alongside this movie, the Yummi-Land dolls would have 3 more main doll releases and 2 releases featuring just pets before abruptly disappearing in 2008. I say abruptly because there's evidence of at least 3 more doll lines that were slated to be released. The Tropical Fruit Punch Girls, the Donut Pop Girls, and the Gumdrop Pop Girls. All 3 of these lines have concept art that was released in sticker activity books and notebooks. The Tropical Fruit Punch Girls were clearly planned as the next release because they are the only unreleased doll line to have character names and even prototype dolls. The Yummi-Land dolls made a brief, and weird, reappearance in 2015 as a specialty release for MGA's Moxie Girls doll line. The dolls didn't look like Moxie Girls, nor did they fully look like Yummi-Land dolls. I didn't even know this existed before doing research for this video, but there you have it. While this would be the last appearance of the Yummi-Land dolls utilizing their original character designs, it would surprisingly not be the last thing we see from Yummi-Land. When I started research for this video, I genuinely thought I'd just be looking up what happened to a doll line from my childhood that not a ton of people remember. So imagine my surprise when I looked up Yummi-Land dolls and found that they are currently being sold on the MGA website. That's right, our friends in Yummi-Land are alive and well, but they look a little different. Actually, they don't look the same at all. There's no more soda pop or even fashion doll aesthetic to this new line. Since the original characters were business owners, it's safe to assume that they were intended to be adults, or at least teenagers. These new dolls, however, have smaller bodies and younger-looking faces, making them look more like baby dolls. They now have solid plastic hair and clothing rather than individual hairs and fabric. My first thoughts when I saw these was that they looked kind of Lego-esque, But then the more I was looking at them and doing research, I realized they look almost exactly like another very popular doll line by MGA. LOL surprise. I actually saw some mentions online that these new Yummi-Land dolls can fit into the clothes for the LOL surprise dolls, so it's possible they're even using the same body molds. Why MGA felt the need to launch a second baby-themed doll line when their existing one is thriving is a mystery to me. These new dolls also come in a larger size that resembles the proportions of the large Bratz Babies dolls. Instead of coming with pets, they now have these things called num-noms, which seem to be sentient desserts. But these only come with the large dolls and not the smaller dolls, which are the core line of this reboot. Like the original series, these dolls are all scented and themed around foods. The main gimmick of these new dolls is that they each come with a plain lip gloss base alongside flavors and colors so that they can be customized. The MGA website mentions that the flavors and colors can be mixed to create over 50 different combinations. However, the color and scent packaging doesn't appear to be resealable, so I'm not sure how feasible or safe that would be unless multiple dolls are purchased at once. The new dolls seem to have pretty minimal articulation, which isn't surprising given their small body sizes and the fact that they double as keychains. In the same vein as LOL Surprise, the Num Noms are also sold individually in mystery packaging as make-your-own perfume sets. There are currently 10 in total, and with the odds of you buying 10 different Num Noms on your first try being extremely low, this toy is helping keep the trend of overconsumption alive and well. As has become the standard for any doll line these days, the Yummi-Land reboot has its own web series. I watched a few episodes of this, again for research purposes, and I have to say the animation is pretty adorable. The team at MGA clearly had a better idea of what they wanted to do this time around, as there's a clear concept and world building, which were lacking in the first movie. This time around, the characters are superheroes who gain their powers from magic lip gloss. It's definitely aimed at a younger audience, which makes sense given the aesthetic of the dolls. To be clear, when I say young, I mean like 6-year-olds. I still played with dolls until I was about 12, and by the time I was 10, I definitely preferred larger dolls with more articulation and TV shows with more advanced plots. The first season of the show is little more than world building, as each episode is only slightly over a minute long, and each one is either themed around introducing a single character or showcasing how their powers work. The second season features slightly longer episodes that have an actual beginning, middle, and end. I again am questioning how old these characters are supposed to be, but it gives me similar vibes to the Bratz Super Babies movie, so I can picture this being a bunch of toddlers who are imagining themselves as heroes. While this minimal articulation type of doll design has never been my favorite, I can tell that love and thought was put into their designs, and I would argue that they have a much more intentional aesthetic this time around. I have to admit, I particularly love their hair designs, especially for the newer characters. Like, look at the Boba-themed character, and the rock candy one. They're so cute! This new doll series hasn't even been around for a full year yet, but I'm already clocking some potential issues that could lead to its downfall. First and foremost, there's the reusing of scents. The core line of these dolls has a cake-themed character, and they literally just released another cake-themed character with the Sour Sweeties line. Unless the plan is for these characters to be related to each other, it doesn't really make sense to me to have multiple characters with the same scent when they could have just released new designs for the original dolls. Which leads me to the bigger issue with how this reboot was handled, the choice to center it around a core line of dolls. Obviously, it's very common for doll lines to center around a main group of characters and then expand the universe with the addition of new characters. However, this core line of characters is typically released with new doll designs in new collections alongside the introduction of new characters. And there's generally an unspoken understanding that these new side characters aren't going to appear in every collection moving forward, if at all. Think of characters like Megan, Roxy, and Fiona from the Bratz, or Spectra and Rebecca from Monster High. They appear in several collections, but there's no expectation that they'll be in every single collection, like with the core characters. This concept typically works for doll lines because it gives kids the option to focus on their favorite characters or try some new ones, and it gives doll collectors a more diverse and sometimes rare lineup to choose from. The problem here is that Yummi-Land is positioned to be a collect-them-all type of doll, just like how it was in its initial run, which means that it doesn't really make sense to have the audience form a long-term emotional attachment to all of the characters. Not to mention that the core line of characters have less interesting designs than their successors, which is pretty expected, as we of course want and expect designs to improve over time, but that's exactly why doll lines release new versions of their original characters instead of using the same original concept design forever. The new web series has been designed to center around the first line of characters, despite there not appearing to be any intention of updating their designs with new dolls, and each new character seems to be added to the universe in a way that signals their permanence in the series. As the universe continues to expand, it's going to become overwhelming for the audience, especially the child audience, to keep up with and care about all of the characters in the series. Why am I so confident that this will happen? Because it literally happened a few years ago with MGA's series Rainbow High. The doll line and web series centered around a core group of characters, but quickly dropped the idea of releasing different versions of the main line in favor of constantly creating new characters, which led to MGA rebooting the series in a way that backtracked continuity and concept so that they could have a heavier focus on the core line of dolls. That's going to be a video for another day, but my point is that MGA literally just made this mistake and doesn't seem to have learned anything from it. They've rebooted the Yummi-Land series with the same collector-focused concept, but they seem to be applying the same rules that they would for a typical doll series like Bratz. I don't collect dolls anymore, so I don't really have a personal stake in this, but it would suck to have a long-forgotten toy line get rebooted, only to get abruptly cancelled like its predecessor did. So there you have it, the rise, fall, new rise, and potential new fall of the Yummi-Land dolls. It's pretty obvious to me that the reboot was not done with any intention of appealing to fans of the original doll line, given that the designs are completely different and they frankly don't have anything in common besides being scented dolls that come with lip gloss. I think MGA just wanted to try out this concept again using some new strategies and didn't see a point in trademarking a new IP when they had one lying around and collecting dust. But what are your thoughts? Did you ever collect the original Yummi-Land dolls? Are you a fan of the new series and didn't even know it was a reboot? Let me know your thoughts. If you liked this video, go ahead and subscribe for more childhood deep dives, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.